Hello, I'm Chris Kersey of Team Kimlee. Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk, as we have conversations with people who are in our ovarian cancer community. And tonight, we are so glad and honored to have with us Miss Chasisity Springs of Columbia, South Carolina, who has graciously agreed to come talk to us about her ovarian cancer journey, along with some other conversation items as we get to know her. So, Chasisity, how are you tonight? And welcome to Let's Talk, and thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight. How are you doing tonight?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well.
Good. How was your day?
My day was excellent for Monday.
Good. That's good to hear. That's really good to hear. So just to get started, tell us about yourself.
So I am, as you said, I live in Columbia, South Carolina. Born and raised in the low country of South Carolina. I'm near Charleston.
Mhm.
I'm a co-parent of an 8-year-old daughter.
All right.
I have 3 siblings who I'm very close to, 1 brother and 2 sisters who are much younger than me. So they're kind of like my kids as well.
Okay.
By profession, I'm an epidemiologist. However, I kind of had a midlife change, and
Mhm.
now I'm doing more data analytics, but
Okay.
public health is still my passion.
Okay. Now, what's the name of your 8-year-old daughter?
London.
London, as in London, England. Okay. All right. Awesome. Now, as an epidemiologist, is that a person who does epidurals?
I cannot believe that you asked me that question in the middle of a global pandemic. I thought right now everybody knew what an
Oh my God.
epidemiologist was.
Oh, epidemiology, like epidemic. Oh God.
Yes, absolutely. It's
Oh
funny
my
though, because
gosh.
nobody knew what an epidemiologist was before 2020, 2019. Everybody thought it was a skin doctor, but
Oh,
we study diseases.
oh boy. Epic fail on my part. Epic fail. Epic fail. And the world's gonna get to see that, boy. Boy, throwing the dunce cap on that one. Throwing the dunce cap. Oh well, yep, epidemiologist, right? Epidemic. Oh my God. Oh, well. So, all right. So, being an ovarian cancer survivor, and as you say, you kick cancer's butt. Can you tell us about your journey and how did you feel when you found out?
So my journey is kind of interesting because I was initially diagnosed at the age of 26
Mm-hmm.
with a low grade borderline tumor. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had my left ovary removed
Mm-hmm.
at the age of 26. And then a year later, I had another one on my right ovary. So I had
Mm-hmm.
my right ovary removed.
Okay.
So fast forward 14 years, you would think, no ovaries, not thinking about ovarian cancer, but
Mm-hmm.
those cancer cells are sneaky.
Yeah.
So in 2017, when I was 41,
Mm-hmm.
I actually started. So when I had the borderline tumors, I had kind of classic, if there are classic symptoms, I had the bloating, the weight gain, and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. But when I was diagnosed most recently, I had pain in my right shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
and it was probably one of the worst pains I'd ever felt.
Okay.
But for about a year, I was misdiagnosed with a muscle.
Mm.
And so finally, I got to a point where I was short of breath, and I said, something's just not right. And so I went to the ER and ended up in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward a few days and lots of tests, and I was diagnosed with low grade serous carcinoma,
Mm-hmm.
which is a bit more rare type of ovarian cancer.
Okay.
And
And what's that called again?
it's low grade serous cancer.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And so, it was low grade is unique in that it's not as responsive to chemotherapy
Okay.
as typical ovarian cancers.
Yeah.
So, that started a journey. That, I mean, it wasn't a typical progression because by the time it was discovered, it was
Mm-hmm.
actually a huge tumor, and it was behind my lung. Because
Oh
again, I
wow.
didn't have ovaries. So it was, just sitting there chilling in my chest.
Oh.
That's why I was having shortness of breath, because I had pleural effusion. I had fluid around my lung. So that's why I had the shortness of breath. And so that's kind of how, I got journey to diagnosis. And from then on, it's a lot of chemotherapy.
Right. Okay. How long did you have chemotherapy?
So because of where my tumor was, they were not able to operate on it.
Okay.
I think kind of the normal progression of treatment for most ovarian cancer patients is usually, some combination of surgery and about 6 rounds of chemo. But I didn't have surgery as an option. So my doctor initially scheduled me for 9 rounds of chemo. I ended up doing 12. So almost a year of chemo, followed by another year of Avastin infusions every 3 weeks. So I was technically in treatment for nearly 2 years. The first year being that frontline, really aggressive chemotherapy treatment.
Yes. Okay. All right. And I don't know if you answered, but when you found it out, how did you feel? I mean, what was your emotions?
And so I think when I got my diagnosis, my doctor probably was a little concerned about my mental health, because I was very upbeat, and very positive. To me, it was just, another hurdle that I had to get over. Having already had the borderline, when I had the borderline tumors, I had surgery, they were removed, and, that was it. I didn't have to have any other treatment. But, learning that this was going to be more intense, I think, honestly, I didn't really know what I was in for. So, I wasn't sad. I wasn't angry. I was like, okay, this is something that, I just have to get through.
All right. Well, praise God that you made it through, so we're very happy to hear that. Very happy to hear that, positive reports. So how important was your support system, like your family and friends, as you were going through that?
My support system was the most important thing that helped me to get through treatment. Because before I was diagnosed, right before my diagnosis, my husband and I, we'd been married for 15 years. We decided to separate, progressing to a divorce. And so right as I was starting cancer treatment, that's when we separated. And so suddenly I was a single mom, primary parent, and going through cancer treatment. And so my family, they were there throughout it all. My parents, my siblings, and my best friend, they, when I had the days when I had chemotherapy and, for those few days when I couldn't do anything, they would take my daughter and, keep her for those days and, make sure she got to school and everything. They would bring me food. They would come and sit with me at chemo. They were extremely important, and not just my family, my close family, but also my extended family of my sorority sisters. They were always taking turns sitting there with me and bringing me gifts and, trying to cheer me up. Well, I was pretty cheerful anyway, but, just helping me to keep my spirits up. So, yeah, I mean, I think that I can't even imagine having to go through something like that without having that family, support system. I can't even.
What kind of help did you need during your treatment? What kind of help or any needs that you had as you were going through that for your support system?
So I'll be honest. I guess I'm a little stubborn, and so I didn't really ask for a lot of help. And so folks quickly learned that they couldn't ask me what I needed. They had to just show up with stuff. The main thing was just, those few days. And, as the treatment went on and got progressively more difficult in terms of the amount of time it took me to kind of recover from it, you know, and so in the beginning it was just a day or two, you know, then eventually we got to about 3 or 4 days. And so during that time, it was really hard for me to take care of my daughter. And so that was the main thing. Just, you know, my family taking care of her during that time, you know, and making sure that I ate. I didn't eat a lot during that time. So they always made sure that I ate and things like that. But other than that, you know, I still continued to work. I never left my jobs because I also teach online. That was my full-time job. So I never left my jobs or anything. Thankfully, I never had to do that. I was able to keep working. Even though I had some pretty serious side effects, it was never anything that put me in a position to where I couldn't care for myself. So I'm really thankful for that.
All right. All right. So what is your anniversary date of being cancer-free? What's your official date?
So that's an interesting question. And maybe I'm strange, but I don't have an official anniversary.
Okay. Well, maybe not official, but you know what the date you think.
So the thing
is, the date you ring that bell.
So that's the thing. I never got to ring the bell.
Oh, really? Okay.
I never got to ring the bell because of the way my treatment was structured. I never knew when I was going to be done with it.
Okay.
And so by the time I finished the 12th one, I still was doing the Avastin infusions for another year.
Okay.
And so technically, I would say December 30th, 2019 is when I got done with treatment.
All right.
But I've never felt like I'm cancer free. I feel like I'm cancer controlled, but I don't, you know, I feel like it's always something, you know, that is here and I have to be cognizant of that. But I will say that when I really had kind of a moment where I kind of breathed a sigh of relief was last summer. Last July, I went for one of my follow-up appointments. I typically go every 3 months. And at the 6-month mark, I usually get a CT scan. And so I went and my doctor said, he was very excited. He said, "Do you want to see something cool?" I'm like, "Sure." And so he took me to this room and he was like, "Look at this." And he showed me my CT scan. He showed me my first one from, you know, when I was diagnosed, and then the one from last summer. Of course, I didn't know what I was looking at, but I could definitely see that there were some differences. And he was just so excited. And he just said, "You know, this is so amazing, you know, how good your scans look." And it's interesting because when my doctor gave me my diagnosis, I could tell that he was being positive, but I could tell that he was not thinking that, you know, I was going to get through this simply because of, you know, the way my tumor was and just the type that it was. And again, you know, low grade being more resistant to chemo. So he was just ecstatic. And so I think last summer is probably when I said, "Okay, you know, I'm doing pretty good."
So down in Columbia, have you participated in any ovarian cancer events down there? Do they have ovarian cancer like runs or walks or anything like that, or just get together?
So here they really don't have any events, to be honest. But what I have always done ever since my borderline diagnosis years ago is to try to promote awareness. And I do it all throughout the year, but particularly during Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month in September, you know, and so I'm always posting to social media. I'm always sharing with all of my sisters in the various groups that I'm a part of. I get materials from Normally, and I take them to school for the students, for the young ladies to pick up. And more recently, I've gotten involved with the Cure Our Ovarian Cancer Foundation. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but Jane Lutman is the founder. She's from New Zealand, actually, and that they're dedicated to funding research for low grade serious. So I've gotten involved with them, and so she does a lot here in the U.S. as well. And so they've put together a lot of materials, and they want to have diverse faces on their materials. And so I've been on a lot of their materials that they put out. And also, fun fact: last year they secured billboards in Piccadilly Circus in London and in Times Square. and I got to be on
Awesome.
the Times Square billboard
Is that
last
right?
May. Yeah. So, I try to volunteer my face and my voice, whenever anyone asks.
So who would you say are the most three influential people in your journey that was impactful in your fight against ovarian cancer?
There were two people.
Mm-hmm.
And the first, of course, is my daughter.
All right.
Um, so because of my previous history, I was unable to have children. And so for years, we were trying to adopt. And it literally took 5 years before we ended up adopting our daughter.
Awesome.
And so, we got her, and, she's 4 years old, and we're having a time of our lives.
Uh-huh.
And boom, I get diagnosed with ovarian cancer.
Yeah.
And so, I was always just kind of wondering, well, God, I prayed for this child all this time, and you answered my prayers. And now I might not be here, to see her grow up. Like, what's up with that?
I
And
know.
so, for me, she's always been my inspiration.
Mhm.
We used to always talk about how girls don't give up, and she would always remind me that. And she, from a very early age, I taught her how to pray. So from the first day of my diagnosis, still up until now, every night she prays for me. And so
Nice.
she has been my rock, and when I asked that question about, why God, why would
Mhm.
you let, her come into our life for me to end up having to go through this? I
Mhm.
feel like part of it was I needed her as much as she needed us, because I fought for her.
Yes.
In all honesty, if I didn't have her, I'm not sure that I would have gone through, chemotherapy. I don't know if I would have done that if I didn't,
Mhm.
know that I needed to be here for her. So she's my
Absolutely.
my main person. And there's actually one other little person.
Okay.
Um, right after my diagnosis, my
Mhm.
sister-in-law became pregnant, and so
Oh,
that's what
congratulations.
I was looking forward to, was my first niece. And
Okay.
so she's here now. She's almost 4, and she's a
Mhm.
hoot. But she kept me going through treatment, because that
Uh-huh.
was what I was just looking forward to, her being born. So those are my two main people.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, it takes me back when my first niece was born. Yeah, I was a little kid when she was born, so but I know that had to have been a beautiful feeling, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome. So, with that being said, so now we're going to turn our attention to some fun questions now. Some fun questions. Now, just for our viewers out there, I met Chasisity on Twitter. She was saying that she was going back to the South Carolina Gamecocks game, the women's basketball, after 4 years of in her fight over ovarian cancer. So what was that like to be back at the game? That was like about a week or two ago, right?
Yeah, it was Sunday before last.
Uh-huh.
It was it was amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a boring person. The things that I enjoy doing,
Mhm.
going to USC football games and going
Okay.
to USC women's basketball games. If I can do those two things, I'm good. And so I literally have not been back. As a matter of fact, when I ended up in the hospital right when I
Mhm.
was diagnosed, I was on my way to a USC Clemson football game.
Oh, really?
And I
Oh,
was so upset
the
that I
big
didn't make
rivalry.
that game.
Yes. The big rivalry. Yeah, Clemson, South Carolina.
So
Yep.
yeah, so that was like my last, was gonna be my last football game, but I didn't
Uh-huh.
even make that one. So to have been away, and I have season tickets, so to have been
Okay.
away has been
Mhm.
like the worst for me. Like, I can't
Mhm.
even describe it. So to be back in Colonial Life Arena,
Mhm.
it was amazing. And I've been a season ticket holder with women's basketball since 2012. And
Nice.
so those were the days before, we were seeing the crowds that we're seeing now. And so
Mhm.
to see what Coach Staley has built, and the culture, that she's built, it's amazing. It was like being back at home. It was like being with family, 18,000 family members.
Great. What was a trip that you've taken that you liked a lot, like a favorite trip?
So probably my favorite trip. So I think of my life in terms of DC and AC, before cancer and after cancer.
Okay.
So in 2017 BC,
Okay.
we took a really fun trip. So my daughter, typically every year I have a really nice birthday party for her,
Okay.
kind of creative type birthday party.
Yeah.
But for her fourth birthday, she said she wanted to go on a Disney cruise. And
Ooh.
so we did like a really small party and we booked a Disney cruise.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to, we left from Cape Canaveral
All right.
on a Disney cruise, and we went to Nassau and Disney's Island, I think it's Castaway Cay. And on the way
Mm-hmm.
down there, we stopped by the Kennedy Space Center and we got to see a rocket launch.
Oh, nice.
And on the way back, that was the weekend or the day that we came back was when we had that eclipse back in 2017.
I
So we
remember the
got to
eclipse.
see that on the way back.
I
So
remember
it
that.
was just like a combination of like really fun things happening.
Mm-hmm.
But that Disney cruise, though, oh my gosh, so much fun.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. Now, I'm gonna take a guess at this, but I would say you are an extrovert, right?
You are wrong.
Oh, an
Absolutely wrong.
introvert. I know. Now I
I
know. Now I know. I know you said you call yourself boring, which I don't believe for a second. But it sounds like with your spirit, it's like you're more of an extrovert, but you're an introvert.
I am absolutely introvert. I get
Okay.
so like nervous even being around people. I
Really.
can sit in my house all day, every day, and not see or talk to anyone and not be bothered.
Mhm.
Social situations, I'm just like so anxious. Just being around people and having to talk to people.
Mhm.
So I'm absolutely an introvert. It's just that whenever I'm talking about something, that's important to me, I guess
Okay.
maybe I'm a little bit more talkative, but typically I'm not even a talkative person.
Okay. All right. Okay. Two epic fails on my part. Going for the
All
trifecta
right, you will
here.
get the next one right.
Yeah. Now you mentioned earlier that you were in a sorority. Which one would that be?
I am a 25-year member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
AKA. Okay. All right. Now you know what? Now here's where I was not going to take another guess, right? Because it looks like you're wearing blue and white. So I was thinking Zeta
So,
Phi Beta, but I was not going to take a shot at that because I've already
well,
blown.
I'm glad you didn't because it's the lighting. It's actually light pink and teal.
Oh, okay. All right. You matching it. All right. Okay. So
But wait a minute. Apparently, you didn't see my picture behind me.
oh, I seen it. It's beautiful. Yeah, and
It's
I see the pink
all
and green.
it's all
Yeah. Which leads me to the next question. So you mentioned that your favorite color is pink. And so I'm gonna assume pink is AKA pink.
Yeah, so I never used to like the color pink because I always thought it was too girly.
Yeah.
And of course, then I picked a sorority that had pink as one of its colors. But for me, the light pink is more of a color that stands for femininity.
All right.
And for me, that's been really important simply because having not being able to have kids, not
Okay.
being able to do something that traditionally, you think of as, something that a woman does, you kind of have thoughts of, well, if I can't do this, then what defines me as a woman? And
Mhm.
so just, that pink is just a reminder that, I'm still a girly girl.
Okay.
But I also like hot pink, which to
Mhm.
me, this is kind of like vibrant and
Mhm.
full of life.
And let me ask you, and what school did you pledge? AKA.
Benedict College, the best of BC.
Okay. Benedict College. All right. And that's I'm assuming that's in South Carolina, right?
Yes, Benedict College is right here in Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay. All right. Benedict
Yes,
College.
and not only did I graduate from Benedict, but I am also currently employed by Benedict because I love Benedict so much.
All right. So you work for a university. All right. I do too. So I can understand that. Um, so what would you say is your proudest moment? Or was your proudest moment?
I would say maybe the proudest moment was probably when I graduated the last time, when I got my doctorate, simply because I hadn't really, like when I got my master's, I didn't even attend a graduation. I just wanted to be done. But working on my doctorate, there were some challenges, and it took longer than I wanted it to take. But the fact that I persevered and I finished, just was something that it was really just something that I did for me, a really personal decision, and definitely a proud moment.
So wait a minute. So you're Dr. Chasity Springs. How
Yeah,
about that?
I didn't mention that. Did I?
You could see instead of the Miss Springs, you could have said, "Hey, my name is Dr. Springs."
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not that type of doctor. I feel more comfortable with people calling me by my first name.
Well, that is awesome. Congratulations to you on all fronts there.
Thank you.
That is so awesome. So what is it like doing in your spare time? Or do you have a hobby or anything like that?
So I used to make jewelry, but now my hobbies usually involve driving my child to and from some sort of practice, and whatever she's interested in doing.
Okay.
So, we spend a lot of time together. Now that, things are kind of opening back up, we're doing movies and, trying to find different things to do outside of the house. But, when we're here, we're painting, making jewelry, just whatever crafty thing we can find to do.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So basically just spending time with your daughter. Well, good for you. That is so good. So good. So ask you a couple more questions and then I'll let you go. So
Okay.
so just as an inspiration, what would be your advice to ovarian cancer patients to keep the spirits up and stay in the fight?
So for me, I think so throughout my journey, there are three things that have kept me going. And those are faith, family, and a positive attitude.
All right.
And so I really think that my positive attitude has just done wonders, for my healing. Because there was never a time that, I thought negatively, or I thought, I'm not going to make it, or I'm not going to get through this. Even that's not to say that there weren't, difficult times. Every day was not sunshine, but even in the tough times, I stayed positive. And I think that that's really important. And, you're allowed to feel badly, you're allowed to feel sad, you're allowed to be angry, you're allowed to feel all of those emotions. Just don't stay there. So I think that was key for me. It was just very important for me to just continue to have a positive attitude, have a positive outlook, because I really had faith that this was not where my story was going to end. And so I really believed that. And so I couldn't have a negative attitude because that would be contrary to what I already believed,
Right.
So I just think that positive attitude, I would go into chemo smiling, and, I kind of, it's like, having all of my nurses smiling just because I always had that positivity. And I think that that's really something that I would encourage, anyone who's going through something like this, to just try to stay positive. Find that something, that you can kind of believe in, and that can kind of motivate you to just keep fighting.
Great, great. That's a wonderful story. It's a wonderful, inspirational story. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And in closing, is there anything else you want to say? Anything in closing?
So, first of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story. I really
Mhm.
appreciate that.
My
Um,
pleasure.
but I think the one thing that I would say, and this is not just for ovarian cancer, this is for anything and anyone.
Mhm.
I would just encourage folks to listen to their bodies. I know we
Mhm.
hear this a lot, but it it's a really we need to listen to our bodies, um, and we need to understand that doctors are great, and they're very smart, but they're not perfect.
Mhm.
Anyone can make a mistake or a misdiagnosis. So if you feel like something is not quite right, and your
Mhm.
doctor's not really giving you the answers that you need, don't feel badly about asking for a second opinion
Mhm.
or asking for additional tests or whatever you need to do um, to figure out what's going on. And I know as we're getting older, we have aches and pains, and you don't know
Mhm.
what's something that you should be concerned about versus something that's just getting older.
Mhm.
But I think that sometimes we kind of know when something's just not quite right, and we shouldn't let those things linger. We really should get those things checked out, because of course it's always better to catch it early. Fortunately for me, because it's low grade,
Mhm.
um, we actually it wasn't so bad because it wasn't caught early on,
Mhm.
but my treatment was delayed by at least a year of being diagnosed with something else. And, them not actually wanting to do additional tests. So
Okay.
just don't be afraid to request those additional tests if you think you need them, and listen to your body.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Chastity, thank you so much for coming on to Let's Talk with Team Kimlee, with myself. We certainly appreciate it. I know on behalf of the Team Kimlee Ovarian Cancer Run and Walk team, we thank you for coming on with us. And we're glad you were able to share your story. And, once this goes out, we hope everybody will listen to this story and be motivated to stay in that fight for ovarian cancer. All
All
right.
right.
So
Thank
you have,
you.
you have a blessed night. You take care, and I'll talk to you soon. I'll be checking you on Instagram.
Okay.
Okay. Good night. Bye
Good
now.
night.